Civilization 7's new modern age empires and leaders are here, with a French and really another American leader hitting the fray. You guys really love your leaders. Although love may be the opposite of what I've seen in some of the YouTube comments so far. Nonetheless, we're also going to take a look at the near fulsome list of all of the civilizations in Civ 7. Here's the big news so far this year for Civ 7, starting with that brand new leader, Lafayette, who's a cultural and diplomatic leader, as I mentioned in the introduction, a leader of the both American and French revolutions in kind of different ways throughout his life. He's a leader who also likes other leaders in the game with loads of urban districts and buildings, and dislikes those rural folk with a few urban areas. As a leader throughout the entire game, we'll also, of course, have access to the leader agenda, which gives a unique endeavor. As a reminder, that's a type of diplomatic action, which gives us, and as you can see from the guide, also the other leader, an additional social policy slot. We'll also receive extra combat strength for every tradition in our government, and increased culture and happiness per age. You can see from the little trailer, it's +2 culture and happiness per age in settlements. Doubled if it's a distant land settlement. It's worth probably taking just a slightly closer look at all of this. A few technical terms, you'll know distant lands, of course, separate continents from your starting one. The other thing to focus on is tradition. These are a special type of cultural policy, of government policy. Usually policies will disappear as you move through the ages. A new civic tree, new policies to unlock. However, Civ-specific traditions, special policies, will remain, and you can choose to use them in future ages throughout the rest of the game. Just as, of course, you'll continue to use your maybe upgraded leader with extra attributes. Speaking of leaders, of course, we've seen a lot of leaders, as I mentioned in the intro, for France already, including a pair of Napoleons, maybe also a Charlemagne, and America has now arguably received its 4th leader, maybe shared a bit with the French this time around, though the base game has 2 with Tubman and Franklin. Now up there in count, rivaling other areas like China or India with Civs. Before we move on to talk about all of the Civs in the game though, a couple of quick bits of news. First and foremost this week, Civilization 7 was officially Steam DECK. Steam, I want to say DAC, to use a proper accent that YouTube won't penalize me for. And if you're wondering, by the way, if it'll run on your PC at all, not your Steam DECK, here are the requirements. You can pause and take a read. You'll need an i5, probably an RTX 2060. Thanks also, just before we move on, for that massive boost in subscribers. Look at that, up from like 50 a day to 500. It was a record day, thanks to your help trying to get us with less than 1 month to go to 100k by Civ 7 day. And it is, of course, indeed now officially, no matter what time you're watching this video, less than 1 month until Civ 7 comes out. Changing gears now, while we had already speculated on its release because it had been hinted at, some new shorts gameplay was revealed this week for 2 new modern age Civs, the first of which is that I was just talking about, the French Empire, which makes its modern age, 3rd and final age debut in Civ 7. We begin with their unique ability. The French love their celebration effects, these events that happen when your extra happiness builds up to a certain point. Well, you can select any celebration effect of any government in the modern age while you're playing as the French. And that was interesting and flexible. I'm not quite sure yet just how powerful it will be though. Let's take a look at their unique infrastructure, where they have 2 buildings put together to get a unique quarter. Put them together and you'll receive increased happiness on your urban districts throughout the whole city. The 2 buildings in question give either culture or happiness bases, and give either happiness or culture adjacency bonuses. It is all about the happiness generation to fuel those celebration events, as well as culture so far with the French Empire, it seems. Their unique civilian unit is one of those interesting ones that is a great person. So, you can build as many of them as you like, but only one of each type. And every time you build one, providing you have the required unique quarter, the effect will be different. You can only receive each effect once, and as you can see, they vary a bit. Looking at different things, some of the interesting ones, I think you can immediately trigger a celebration. add large amounts of happiness to try and fuel that, increase relationship gains per diplomatic action, or perhaps unlock some unique traditions like the Reign of Terror, which again grants extra culture on districts. However, there's a trade-off. It reduces your growth rate by a set percentage. And we'll return to another interesting trade-off when we talk about China in the modern age too. The final possible effect listed here, the Archangel of Terror, by the way, is a commander promotion, or it's activated on a commander, and units within its radius gain increased combat strength. Interesting. Very interesting. I wonder how much that will be. There are a lot of unique combat strength buffs that we've seen revealed in Civ 7, and I'm starting to piece some together. Finally, for the French Empire, while it is a little bit of a wall of words, let's take a quick look at their unique civics. You're of course welcome to pause if you'd like to read through each one. A lot of the time it's unlocking the traditions or giving some of the kinds of benefits that we've already discussed. As per usual, I've highlighted some interesting points. I think generally there's a theme here around culture gain again, as well as a little bit around combat strength. Culture equal to combat strength, or increased combat strength for adjacent friendly units, is essentially what their military unit is all about. As you can see, their military unit is a unique infantry unit, which can make a ranged attack. I like that a lot. And it has increased combat strength when within a friendly command radius. That will obviously be within the range of a friendly commander. Unique associated wonder, of course, the Eiffel Tower. And by the way, the world's greatest starting bias. The starting bias of wine. Though a starting bias for a modern age Civ may not be all that useful for a lot of games of Civ that are played, put it that way. Now, before we take a holistic view at all of the civilizations, let's quickly take a look at Qing China, which makes its debut as a modern age civilization with an interesting unique ability, increasing gold, culture, and influence from any imported resource, a resource that you've traded for, which, as we talked about in my last video, is fairly straightforward. Make a merchant unit, send it to a place, you've got yourself a trade route and maybe a road to boot. There is, of course, a trade-off here. You'll receive decreased science from those imported resources as well. I like this. This is interesting. A very clear, marked trade-off between resources. I hope that these buffs, these increases, are significant. The unique infrastructure that the modern age Chinese civilization provides is largely based around gold, a bit of science, happiness, and also influence in there if you can build the two buildings together and receive that unique quarter effect. Overall, a science base and a gold base is great, and of course fits well with a potential leader combo here too. And while there may be some slightly anti-synergies with losing science from trade, with gaining science, I don't know, maybe that's a good thing. When we turn to their unique units, things seem a lot more synergetic. Take a look at their unique civilian, a merchant, gaining gold for every resource acquired when creating a new naval trade route, which is an interesting little caveat that will reduce the overall amount of gain. Of course, there'll be other interdependencies here, like what type of map are you playing on? How well did you explore during the previous exploration age? Their military unit is a unique infantry unit that gets extra combat strength when being adjacent to another one of the same type. Finally here, let's take a quick look at that word wall of a unique civic tree, a culture tree, if you will. You can see there are references here to combat strength for all units, for every other leader with which you have a trade route. Again, maybe playing on a larger map here has more significant benefit, maybe it scales, we don't know, but nonetheless, that is a fascinating extra benefit to go along with what you're already likely doing, which is a shite load of trade. It's your unique unit, it's your ability, it's what you do. Alongside a bit of extra growth and culture, you'll also receive overall increased trade income here in the form of a tradition. Not that the tradition part matters so much in the modern age, right? I mean, there's nowhere to carry it through to. Why? I wonder. I do wonder. The second part here of the tree really largely focuses around unlocking things that we've already talked about, or providing extra resource, extra happiness and food, I should say, from resources assigned to cities specifically, not just settlements. Something else, of course, to keep in the back of your mind. Not all settlements are cities, but all cities are settlements. It's a bit of a twister, but I hope you can bear with me. Otherwise, here we see some increased production towards land units as well as extra combat strength for them through some traditions. Now that we've taken a closer look at those newly announced modern age civilizations, of course they were hinted at before, and that's something that we've talked about before in that video that I was alluding to that I made about a month ago. Let's move through and take a look at the updated, comprehensive, mostly, list for the modern age. We have America, Buganda, the French Empire, Meiji Japan, Mexicans, Mughal India, Qing China, the British Empire / Great Britain, some sort of take on a more modern England, Germany, Siam, and Russia? I say tentatively with those last ones because Morocco's been thrown around a bit. I think Siamese have been referenced in a screenshot. We've seen some military hardware that looks, I think, either German or Russian for those two different examples. Maybe we see the USSR, but I doubt it. I think they probably choose to go earlier, look at Russian Empire. This is a comprehensive, though, as you can tell at the end here, still a little bit speculative list of civilizations that have either been officially revealed, 4 at the time of recording, 6 will have been revealed in about a week, and maybe some of those kind of guesswork ones that we've either had alluded to us or seen in screenshots or in live streams or what have you. Your comments rightly correcting me that in England would be unlikely. If they went down that route, we'd probably also see a Scotland and a Northern Ireland and a Wales. And it's probably more likely to be a Britain, a Great Britain, a British Empire, whatever that form exactly might be, United Kingdom. We, of course, don't quite know, is absolutely bang on. And thank you for that, because it informed the creation of that list. If you have any other suggestions, things I might have overlooked, do let me know down in the comments below, please. Finally, as we ramp up towards the release of Civilization 7, so too do the announcements. As I mentioned already, I think we're expecting about 2 civilizations and a leader a week, at least if this week and next week at the time of recording or anything to go by. We also see the release of Developer Diaries, the first one for 2025. I made a big, dedicated video. I'd encourage you to check it out. Of course I would. I'm biased, right? But I would encourage you to check it out because we cover it a lot. Thank you for joining me for this week's news for Civ 7, less than 1 month away. I'll see you next time.